Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin Oles, and this is my Module 1 for AEP 855. First off, a little bit about myself. Um, I am currently a special education teacher. Um, I currently don't have any other extra responsibilities other than being a special education teacher. I currently teach in Chicago Public Schools in an urban inner city environment. I know this is a little bit different than probably a lot of my classmates, as I have um, done a few of these classes before, let's say. So I'm nearing the end. I'll graduate in December. I don't have any extra responsibilities now, but this is my first year at a new school. I am used to having a lot of extra responsibilities. I have experience being on an instructional leadership team. I have experience being a mentor. I have experience being an instructional coach. I have experience being a special education department chair, and I also have experience being a special education case manager. So I do have some extra responsibilities that I'm used to. It's just that this is a new school for me, a new environment. I guess I have to prove my worth first before they let me do some extra things. Um, in terms of who has the most influence on my life and why, um, you know what? I'm not going to take the easy way out on this one. Uh, Obviously, in my own personal life, in my life in general, the most influence on me would be my wife and my mother. But I'm not going to take that way out. I'm going to take the professional route. The most influence on my professional life is going to be one of my best friends, who is a former teacher that I used to work with. He is a former colleague, and he's a thought partner. He is a mentor of sorts. Um, he is someone I can bounce ideas off of. He's somebody I can converse with on all things educational, even though we don't work together anymore. We meet up all the time. Our wives get very, very annoyed that we meet up and over dinner or something, and we can't stop talking about education. So he certainly has the most influence on my life in terms of being an educator and in terms of being a leader in my building. Now, as for the personality test, I pretty much agree with the scores that I received. I scored particularly high in conscientiousness. It's a tough word to say. Which I would definitely agree with conscientiousness in terms of this test. Seems to be people who are careful, diligent, things of that nature. People who tend to not be impulsive and are not organized. I tend to be very rational in my decision-making skills, especially in any kind of leadership capability. And I tend to be very organized, as anybody that has worked with me or worked under me or my students would tell you. So I definitely agree with that one. That's my highest score. My second highest score would have been emotional stability. That sounds kind of tough. Imagine if you scored low in emotional stability, that maybe they should rephrase that word there. But emotional stability here, in terms of the personality test, is negative emotionality, neuroticism, things of that nature. I tend to think I'm really level-headed, not impulsive. Um, I tend to be really positive. I try to look at the positive side of things. It just makes me feel a lot better personally, and I think it makes those around me feel a lot better. So I would definitely agree with that as well. My lowest score would be intellect and imagination. Man, that hurts my feelings a little bit. Intellect? Huh. Okay. Well, let's see what that means. Intellect, or openness to experience. That's what they should call it. Sounds way better. Yeah, I tend to be one who is traditional, conventional, um, not very spontaneous, as my wife could probably attest to. I tend to be very deliberate in my actions, so I would agree with that one as well. Now, as for the leadership theories that I researched for this module, I found a lot of these leadership theories very interesting. A lot of them were very similar, but I thought that two of them stuck out in particular to me. The first one was the participative leadership theory. This stuck out to me the most probably because at an old um, school that I worked at, I think that we worked under a model very much like this, and I was very much a part of, or I felt a part of, the decision-making process and the leadership, and I felt empowered. I felt bought into the school. I felt like it pushed me professionally and pushed my thinking and reflectiveness on the students that I teach. Um, but in terms of just basically what this means, the participative leadership style um, is based on the idea that workers do best in an environment where they are actively taking part in decision making. The leader is basically a delegator, somebody who delegates tasks to workers who they think would do the best at making decisions in the workplace. The leader shares all information, shares everything with everybody, and kind of cuts people loose to either participate in the decision making process or delegates decisions to people or groups of people who they think are best suited to make those decisions. I think this is a great leadership style. I think it really sums up a leadership style that I would like to have as a future building level leader at the secondary level. Advantages of the participative leadership style. You have access to a lot of different opinions. Sitting in brainstorming sessions when making a decision, I think a lot of people can bring up a lot of things that you might not think of. And I think that's really important to have different perspectives in order to make the best decision possible. I think it also empowers workers as well. Possible disadvantages, sometimes making a decision requires kind of a snap judgment, something that happens really quickly. And this type of leadership style doesn't always lend itself to that because you have to involve a lot of people in the decision-making process. So that could definitely be a negative. And you're also kind of, if you're involving a lot of people in decision making, you're also opening yourself up to possible disagreements between people who are making those decisions, the workers who are involved. Another theory that stuck out to me the most was the authentic leadership theory. It's based on the idea that leaders should be genuine, the most genuine version of themselves when they're leading others. They shouldn't imitate or copy what they think is successful or what they think should be successful. They should just be themselves and be genuine at all times. They should be authentic in their decisions. Inherently, people who follow this leadership style is going to vary from person to person because it's kind of up to the leader's own kind of moral compass and whatever decision-making process that they think is the most important. So it's going to vary a ton, but authentic leaders should be honest and transparent at all times. That's kind of the whole idea of it. As far as advantages, I think it goes a long way. I think people can tell when you're being honest and open and transparent with them, and I think employees value that, and they value your honesty and they value your integrity. I think it also lends itself most of the time to being fair in your decision making, being fair in how you treat your employees, which I think is really important. And I think that goes a long way in gaining the respect of the people who work underneath you. Disadvantages, if there's people who work under you who don't have the same set of ethical beliefs that you do, then you're going to have a problem. So that's inherently a disadvantage, and possibly somebody who is still kind of figuring out their leadership style or figuring out their code of ethics as they are the leader, that could be a problem because you don't want any shifts. You want consistency in the decision making. So that is my module 1. I'm really looking forward to meeting and conversing with all of you over this very short and condensed summer. I don't know about you guys. I'm not done with school yet. I'm not done with work yet. So I'm doing this as I'm wrapping up and preparing for my finals and preparing for the final couple of weeks with my kids. So I look forward to speaking with you guys. Have fun.